What's up guys, Greeny, and if you follow the channel, you'll know that I recently took a trip to the Philippines. Well, what you don't know is that I had an issue with the airlines, and I'm going to tell you guys about it. I went with another YouTuber named Chris from Ditching Corporate, and we were both on the same flights, and there was an issue with the flights. I'm going to explain that to you, but we both tried to get refunds. We tried to get our money back, and he handled it one way, I handled it a different way, and we had two different outcomes. So I'm going to tell you what I feel you should do in a similar situation, how I handled it, how he handled it, and hopefully this will help you in the future if you ever have an issue with the airlines. Alright guys, I'm Greeny. If you're new to the channel, I'm a YouTuber. I live in Thailand. I'm retired from America. I've been an expat in Thailand for a couple of years now. I own a condo here. I'm married to a Thai lady, and I pretty much base out of Southeast Asia now. I'm trying to get back on the traveling bandwagon here, if you would call it such. Just been pretty much stationed in Thailand for a while. I finally took another international trip recently to the Philippines, and here's what happened. I went with another YouTuber, Chris from Ditching Corporate. We both booked flights with a major airline carrier. I'm not going to say the name, but you might be able to guess which one it is. Anyways, that wasn't the airline we were going to fly with. They were actually, you know how they work together. So we booked it on that airline, but our flight was actually going to be on Royal Thai Airways. They were flying direct from Bangkok to Manila. So the reason why we booked through this other airline is because it was kind of my idea, because it's a familiar airline that I get points with, and you know, it's a whole big point system, a bunch of different airlines, and I wanted to get the points. And actually the price was, you know, very similar to what Thai Airways was direct. However, I would get these points. So I booked it with this other airline, and they put us on Thai Airways. The day before the trip, we started getting some odd emails. We got two different emails confirming our flight. It was the same time, everything, but in the middle was an email saying that our flight had been canceled and they were going to advise us of a different flight that we had to take or something like that. So, you know, we were packed, ready to go the next day, and it's like, what the hell? Like, is our flight going or is our flight not going? So my buddy Chris, he was able to go on to KLM, and he looked and put our last name in, booking number, and both of us had our flights booked to go to the Philippines. However, when we punched in the numbers to come back, that flight was not showing up, which is weird because the emails that we got were about the first flight. We show up at the airport, we talk to the representative at the gate. It's Thai Airways. They're like, no, you got to deal with you got to deal with this other airline. We don't know anything about it. Call them. Well, I tried to call them, and I went through the whole phone tree, and at the end, it said, sorry, all of our operators are busy. Please call again later, blah, 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 whatever. So anyways, we're going there. I'm like, all right, I'm going to get to the Philippines. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure out what I got to do, what's going on. So we fly there, and we go online to check, make sure we got our flight coming back. Nothing. No record of this flight, nothing. We're trying to call KLM, no help. Well, it says on the email, the original email that we got, that you can contact them on Twitter or Facebook. Chris contacted them on Twitter. I contacted them on Facebook Messenger. I received a message saying that they'll get back to me within 1 to 72 hours later. I was like, what the fuck? You know, I need to know if I got this flight coming back or whatever. I'm gonna have to rebook or whatever's going on. I don't know. So Chris contacted them on Twitter, and he got a reply much quicker than I did. I didn't hear anything. So he's talking to them, and they told him that his flight coming back had been canceled, and they have to reroute him through Japan to go back to Thailand on a different airways, not Thai Air, that there's some issue with Thai Airways, that we can't fly, or well, him, because he's only talking to them, that he can't fly them back. And so they wanted him to take a 20-hour trip to come back from the Philippines, where our original flight ticket was a direct flight, 3 hours. And he's like, you know, no way. So he didn't book anything. He was just waiting to see what was going to happen. He wasn't even sure when he was going to come back, or if he was going to go to Canada or wherever he was going to go after that. However, I had to be back on a certain day from Manila to Bangkok. And so I never heard back from them on Facebook. I sent them message after message after message saying, you know, what's going on with my return flight? Do I have a return flight? I need to know. I didn't hear anything from them. So I went ahead and booked another flight on that same Thai Airways flight I would have been coming back that they would have been contracting for me. So I booked that flight. Anyways, to make a long story short, I show up to the airport, check in as usual. I get on the flight and I arrive in Bangkok. When I'm getting off the flight and I'm going to pick up my luggage, I noticed that the where you pick up your luggage, it said the Thai Airways flight number and then some other airline, and then KLM was on it again. So I'm like, what the hell? You know, just weird. I took a picture of that. I thought it was kind of odd that KLM was back on it, but I could not ever find my my flight reservation, and I could never get a response from them on Facebook Messenger. All that I got, that last message I got was they'd get back to me within 72 hours, and I kept sending them messages, kept sending messages. I never heard back from them, never ever heard back from them. Chris ended up not taking their flight back. He ended up, because they were changing his flights and everything, he submitted to get a refund through through this airline that we had a problem with. And what they did is our initial flight was about $298 round trip. They refunded him like $150. They actually charged him a few dollars for a cancellation fee when they're the one that started playing with the flights like that. And I'm like, you know what, Chris? I'm going to handle it differently. I'm going to do it a different way and see how it works out for me. So when I had to book my flight coming back, I saw it like one day was like $189. Then it got up to $220. So I'm like, you know, this was like my second or third day at the Philippines. I'm like, I better book this flight because it keeps going up every day. I'm getting no response from KLM. So I booked it. Like I said, I came back, everything. So what I did is I contacted my credit card. I booked it through American Express because I'll get back to it. I get the Delta points and the Sky Miles, and then the other airline I was going to fly with, it would have been Sky Miles. So I wanted the points. That's why I used my American Express card. That's why I booked with that particular airline. You may be able to guess which one it was by now. I contacted American Express. I said, I want to dispute a charge. And they're like, okay, is it? Well, actually, when you go through the phone directory, they ask you, are you disputing a charge from an airline? They must be getting bombarded with this right now. I said, yes, whatever, and talked to the representative. She took all my information. They were actually supposed to send me an email for me to submit my supporting documentation that I have. I kept copies of the emails that they sent me. I kept the copies of the Facebook Messenger conversation that I had with them, you know, all that type of stuff. I never heard back from them. I never got an email. Then I got notified from them that KLM says that I had a flight back. And I'm like, oh, bullshit. So I went online on American Express website and I submitted all my documentation. I wrote a 2-page letter explaining the whole process. I sent them, you know, these the messages I was sending through KLM showing that I never got a response. And I explained to them that I don't want just, you know, a half a flight refunded, you know, the $150 or whatever. I want a minimum of $220, which is what I had to pay for my new flight to come back. But really, because of the time and effort I had to put into this, I don't want to pay anything. You know, I want my whole $300, $298 refunded to me. And guess what? They did their investigation and refunded all my money. So I got the full amount back from this particular airline. I did have to pay out $220, but I got back $298. They charged it back to them. And what I think happened is, from my best guess, is that they had some contractual issue, this airline and Thai Airways, and so my flight was kind of in limbo for a while. It didn't exist. Maybe by the end, like the day I was leaving, if I would have checked online, maybe my reservation would have been back in there. But I didn't have that long to wait. I mean, the prices were going up, so I had to book this other one. And the odd thing is, when I checked in on Thai Airways, they never said like, oh, you're double booked or you have 2 bookings. They never said that. So basically, this airline was full of crapola. And I got all my money back. I have a sneaking suspicion there was a lot of complaints about this airline. And actually, I put that airline's name into Facebook when I was doing some searches, and there's a whole group of people that have had canceled flights or have had issues with this particular airline. Like I said, I'm not going to say the name. You can you can guess which one it is. But I started reading through like all these reviews, all these complaints, and I'm like, oh my God, they suck. Like they're canceling people left and right, not refunding money, making people wait months and months and months. And I was like, you know what? I'm looking at this when I'm in the Philippines. I'm like, I'm not even playing their game. I'm not going to play their game like Chris did and just go through them and beg for money. No, I disputed it with the credit card, and I don't know if it will every time, but this time it worked out better. So long story short, keep all your documentation, keep all your records, make copies of everything, because you never know when you're going to have to dispute something with the credit card. And if you can show that somebody else was in the wrong, you got a good shot to get your money back. And I was actually very surprised that they gave me the full amount for going there and going back, the full round trip ticket back. I thought they were just trying to split in half, but I told the lady on the phone, I'm like, that would not be acceptable, because they made me, because of their lack of communication, they made me pay for this more expensive flight. So at the minimum, I wanted that back. But anyways, that's my story. 2 ways to handle something. Handle it through that airline, or go through your credit card. And actually, it took a little longer going through the credit card. They got to investigate everything. He got his money back a little quicker, but what really threw me is the cancellation fee of like $10 that they charged him. When they started this whole issue by sending emails, canceling flights, playing games. Anyways, I feel like this airline is a big game player, and personally, I will never fly them again. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe, and Greeny out. And to the airlines, Greeny out.